The stock market has crashed by 1,000 points. The government has increased the repo rate hoping to curb inflation. The Russia and Ukraine war has had a significant impact on various countries. Olas and Ubers have replaced the government-run taxi cartel. The movie theatre industry is dying due to OTT platforms, and digital payments have had a massive impact on consumer spending. Are you too intrigued by these topics and feel excited to learn more about it? Then here is a chance to deep dive and explore how these economic topics impact the economy and also our lives. Personally, for me, doing an extended essay in economics is so exciting because it has only real-world situations, and you get to really put on an economist's hat and explore various industries and economics and their impact on society. But before you start your EE, let's understand how the IB extended essay is graded. The extended essays are graded by examiners appointed by the IBDP on a scale of 0 to 34. You'll be graded on 5 criteria, each with its own set of points. Now, most students start their EE and finish them without even looking at these assessment criteria and feel they've done a good job. But when the results come, they get disappointed. Now, this is because they have not included all the points required in the assessment criteria, and hence it's always a good start to start with it first. So let's take a look at the assessment criteria. The first one is focus and method, which consists of 6 marks. This broadly includes your topic, your research question, and your methodology. The second one is knowledge and understanding, which comprises again of 6 marks and basically in simple words mean how well you know your subject and have you used the subject specific terminologies and concepts. The third is critical thinking, which comprises of a maximum of 12 marks and comprises the body of your essay and includes your research analysis, discussion and evaluation. The fourth point is the easiest to score. It is presentation and comprises of only 4 marks. So make sure you structure your essay well, your layout is perfect. And the last one is called engagement, which comprises of 6 marks. This criteria assesses your level of engagement with the research process and completion of the EE. It is applied by the examiner at the end of the assessment of your essay after considering your RPPF, which includes your 3 mandatory reflections and your supervisor's feedback and comments. Now that you've understood the assessment criteria, let's move on to structuring your economics extended essay. Now, along the way, we will understand how these assessment criteria will be applied to your essay. Your extended essay should consist the following. It should consist the title page, your table of contents, your introduction, your methodology, theoretical hypothesis, economic analysis, conclusion, evaluation, and bibliography. Let's start with the title page. The title page is not included in your word count, and your title page should include only the following information. First is your EE title. This part is slightly confusing because it's not the same as your research question, your RQ. The RQ is written in the form of a question, but the title should not be a question. Instead, it is a clear, focused, summative statement of your research. For example, the effects of demonetization on the residential real estate sector in the Mumbai metropolitan region. Now, second is your research question. For example, to what extent has demonetization affected the residential real estate sector in the Mumbai metropolitan region? Also, you should refrain from selecting broad topics as the EE requires critical and reflective thinking skills of a specific topic. However, note that overly focused topics often require specific data that may not be available. So let me give you an example for few broad topics and how you can narrow them down. 1. What is the market structure of the bottled water industry in country A could become more focused by what market structure best categorizes the bottled water industry in town B of country A. Let me give you another example. How do the changes in monetary policy affect consumption in country X? Is too vast and probably one that would not be completed in 4,000 words, and it could be narrowed down to look something like this. To what extent has the central bank's interest rate cuts affected the realty sector in city Y? And lastly, a topic like how has the fall in exchange rate of the Indian rupee affected the Indian economy could be narrowed down to what extent has the recent fall in the Indian rupee affected exports of generic drugs in the state of New Delhi. This could help you give you a little more specific approach for your research. Now, getting back to the title page, the third thing you require is your subject, that is economics, and lastly your word count. Please do not include anything else and do not put your name, date, candidate number, your school name on the EE. I hope this part was clear. Now let's move on to the table of content, and again, like the title page, the table of content is not included in your word count. You need to include all the parts of your EE with the page numbers. Now all of this is really the easy stuff. So now let's move on to the introduction. Your introduction should basically answer three very important questions. First, why is your topic significant? Second, what is the scope of your investigation? And third, why is it interesting? Now let's understand the first part. Why is your topic significant? Now assume your research question is, to what extent has the FAME policy been effective in reducing the negative externalities associated with automobile consumption in Mumbai? You would need to start your introduction by explaining the FAME policy and why it is important. Now, for those who don't know what the policy is, it is a policy introduced by the government to promote the use of electric vehicles and is very significant because of the issue of pollution that is caused because of overconsumption of automobiles on the road. Now, let's take another example. If your topic is something like, how is the insurance industry best categorized in India? You will have to talk about the significance of insurance and how the market structure could have had a direct impact on the society in terms of its economic well-being due to the premium and the pricing and the claim settlement ratio, etc. Now, post this, talk about your scope of investigation in terms of which areas or theories are you going to talk about. And once you do that, you need to talk about why the topic is interesting, and most importantly, you need to add why this topic is personally interesting to you. Now, for the first example with the EV space, we could talk about how the EV space is so relatively new, and it would be interesting to see how a move towards the EV would help in the problem of pollution. And for the second example, you could talk about how during COVID times, insurance proved to be so important for your family and the struggle you faced while choosing the right insurance policy, which motivated you to actually sit down and study this industry. Write this point keeping in mind criteria E, which is engagement, to show the examiner your thought process behind choosing this topic. Hope this was clear. Now, post the introduction, you need to write your research methodology. This basically includes your primary and secondary sources of information. An EE focusing on an aspect of microeconomics could be carried out using primary research in the form of surveys, questionnaires or interviews conducted either face-to-face, virtually or electronically, say with university lecturers, journalists, government officials and or any relevant business people. These must, however, be directly relevant to the research question. Also note that there is no formal requirement to use the primary research in the EE, but it's always good to do so. By contrast, EE topics from macroeconomics and the global economy need more secondary research in the form of drawing data from published academic papers, government publications, statistical database, newspaper, magazines, online articles, and any other historical records. Let me give you an example for the electric vehicle topic. You could look at primary research in the form of interviews with manufacturers of EVs. You could also do a survey to find out customer preference for EVs in terms of pricing, etc. Then you can look at secondary sources such as government websites to find out data about EV sales, population, pollution figures, etc. While doing this, please be mindful about showing your engagement in terms of how it was hard to find some information or limitations of some of the information that you've used. I hope we're all good and clear up till now. So with this, we are done with the title page, the table of content, the introduction and the research methodology. Now this bundle is most critical for your assessment criteria A, which is focus and method. Making sure this part is in sync with what I've explained to you, you can actually score very well in your criteria A. Now let's move on to the next part, that is the theoretical hypothesis, and this is the part where you will analyze your research question using your economic theories and concepts taught in class. Now this is where you will try to draw conclusions based on your personal observations and theories, as this is done before you actually analyze the RQ. So I suggest to follow this approach. Once you have identified your research question, identify the key concepts which are relevant to your topic, namely scarcity, choice, efficiency, equity, economic well-being, sustainability, change, interdependence, and intervention. Just a tip, sustainability is the flavor of the season, so in case you can add something that is relevant, please do. That would help you earn some extra brownie points. Post that, identify the unit of study, meaning is it a micro concept, macro concept, global, etc. Also note sometimes concepts from 2 or 3 units may apply, so make sure to keep an open mind. Third, write down the exact economic theory you want to use to analyze the topic. If you can't find at least 2 to 3, maybe you should look at another research question. Now let me give you an example. If you were doing the EV example, relevant topics would be negative externalities, where you would draw and explain the diagram using the data from your research and draw some conclusions. Also look at subsidies, substitutes, determinants of demand like consumer taste and preference, etc. Explain each with well-labeled diagrams, trying to draw the problem and the solution diagram. Now, if you're exploring a topic on the market structures, talk about the different types of market structures, namely monopoly, oligopoly, monopolistic competition, perfect competition, and how your industry fits each one of them. Now, this part of your EE is associated with criteria B, that is knowledge and understanding. The criteria assesses the extent to which the research question relates to the subject area used to explore the research question. It also assesses the way in which your economics knowledge and understanding are demonstrated through the use of appropriate economic terminology and concepts. So please try to make this section as comprehensive and use the right theories to analyze and draw mini conclusions for your research question. With this, you have finished half your EE, so congratulations. But now comes the main part, that is the economic evaluation. This is where you will try to analyze the RQ looking at all your primary and secondary sources, whether there's a causal link between your cause and effect. Meaning, if your question is, what market structure best categorizes the movie theatre industry in India, you could use all the data you have collected so far to check what market structure best suits the industry. Examples could be: analyze 1, the size and number of firms. For the size, you could find the market share and concentration ratio. Try to find the method of competition, whether they engage in price competition or non-price competition. Find the profit margin, where high profit generally means more non-price competition. If there is non-price competition, try to find out how the products are differentiated. What is the customer preference? Also try to find out if there are any barriers to entry. If your topic is to what extent has the FAME policy been effective in reducing the negative externalities associated with the automobile consumption in Mumbai, try to analyze the growth and the demand for EVs, analyze pollution data, make use of diagrams. Note that words in the diagrams are not counted in the word counts, hence please take care to label your diagrams fully with headings, example markets for cars in California, axis with units if applicable, example real GDP, etc. Intersection points, label them with alphabets like A so you can refer to them later, and lastly shaded areas of applicable, example deadweight loss or welfare loss or market failure. Sometimes your research can give you specific data to work with. Example, the price of 1 cup of rice increased from $2 in 2010 to $2.5 in 2015. In these circumstances, you may label the price y-axis in the diagram with the exact figures, that is $2 and $2.5, to show the increase. The same applies if they give you any exact quantities for the x-axis. In short, the more specific your diagram, the better it is. Hope this was clear. Now, post this comes the conclusion. In your conclusion, give a background about your issue using data and statistics you have used in your analysis and try to answer your RQ. Please do not add any new information in your conclusion. Try to show the short run and the long run impact, How will the stakeholders be affected? What were the advantages and disadvantages of the policy? This will give the examiner proper understanding of the research question. Simple. Now post this comes the evaluation. In your evaluation, mention if there were any unresolved questions, namely if you were doing your research for a particular city, it would be quite interesting to do the same for another city. Also, don't forget to cite any limitations and weaknesses of your study and how could you have done it differently. This will also help you show your engagement with the topic. Hope this was clear. Now this section, namely the economic analysis, the conclusion, the evaluation, is the most important and critical part of your EE because this directly corresponds to criteria C, which comprises of 12 marks, that is critical thinking, which assesses the extent to which critical thinking skills have been used to analyze and evaluate your research that you have undertaken. So put in extra attention and structure it well. Post this comes the bibliography and the appendices, which do not form part of your word count. In your bibliography, cite all your sources. In your appendices, add any 2 scanned questionnaires from your actual set of questionnaires, if there was any. And if you've undertaken any interview, write the questions with the answers. With this, we come to an end of your extended essay, but wait, it's not over yet. There are still 2 assessment criteria left. Let's look at assessment criteria D, which is presentation. While most students do not struggle to get 3 or 4 marks for criterion D, please note the following common pitfalls for which marks are deducted by the EE examiners. The first is missing elements, namely the cover page, the table of content, the page numbers, the bibliography. The second is the content page with no numbers or no page numbers. The third is page numbers not matching the table of content. The fourth is bad and wrong diagrams. Fifth is excessive use of irrelevant photos that break the flow of the essay. And the sixth is poorly organized bibliographies. And lastly, mixed up fonts. So make sure you don't make these mistakes. And this is really the easy part where you can score. Now let's come to your last criteria, that is engagement, which comprises of 6 marks. Being reflective is one of the most important IB learner profile attributes, and it has become a formal part of the assessment criteria for the EE. Reflections are explicitly assessed using the reflections on the planning and progress form, which is worth 6 marks. This is a significant number of marks, almost 18%, which can make the difference between 2 grades in the final assessment. Now for each section of the RPPF, consider the following areas for reflection. The challenges, the setbacks and the obstacles you faced, how did you tackle these and what did you learn in the process? Your learning experiences, what did you learn, and did any new perspectives emerge during the process? There is a maximum of 500 words for all these 3 reflections. These must be written in your own words and relate only to your own learning journey in this process. This is what the IB calls the student voice. You should write your reflective comments on the RPPF as soon as possible after each reflection meeting with your supervisor, because these thoughts will be still very, very fresh in your mind. Hope this has given you a good head start to work around your extended essay. I understand how hard the journey can be sometimes, and the supervisors just give feedback on occasional basis but are not really part of your journey. This journey can get lonely and you may need someone to bounce off ideas with and someone who can help you and provide you clarity and brainstorm with. So don't worry, you can DM me and I will help you, I will mentor you through this entire journey and most importantly, make it fun. Stay tuned for more tips on how to make your EE amazing. This is Aneri Shah signing off.